The DC Superheroes and Villains event at Movie World in 2025 was very good. It had new and updated shows, new characters, and a really cool version of the DC Parade, perhaps the best yet. I thought it would be fun to make a quick review/overview of the event as a follow-up to my speculative video I made earlier before it even started. Were my predictions right? Where did Movie World exceed expectations, and where did they falter? Let's get to it. Quickly, if you didn't know, this is an included annual event held at the park that's all about DC. It features a lot more characters than usual, with many exclusive for the event. Also, lots of DC themed live shows, and an exclusive DC parade. We visited the event on, I believe, the second day, and we made sure to get to the park early to catch all of the entertainment. We were greeted by the awesome Joker fountain display, featuring the Joker figure that used to be outside the old Arkham Asylum ride. Like last year, this was an awesome display, and gave a great first impression for the event. But there's something missing. Yep, they didn't dye the water. Movie World likes to dye the fountain water different colours for the events, but this year, nothing. I'm personally indifferent on this, but I've heard a lot of people mention that they really missed seeing it green or yellow or whatever it was, which I can understand. It doesn't really look like the Joker poisoned the fountain, does it? Next, Main Street. This year it was made to look like the Joker and his goons vandalised it, with banners and graffiti everywhere. I thought this worked out well, and like the fountain, is another great first impression for the event. I especially liked how the Batman shop particularly got vandalised. Weird sentence. They had 3 Batmobiles on display here too, which was new for this event. Last year these took part in the parade, but now they're just photo ops. These aren't actually screen used, but it's still awesome to see them up close. We have one from Batman 1989, Batman Forever, and The Dark Knight. Which of these 3 is your favourite? I like them all myself, but I'd probably have to go with Forever's. So cool. As usual, lots of DC heroes and villains could be found around Main Street for meet and greets, like Batman, Superman, Joker, Catwoman, the usual crew, along with event exclusives like Penguin and Two-Face, who thankfully did return this year. As usual, the characters are a lot of fun to be around, and they do a great job. This year we had 2 new characters, Lex Luthor and Black Canary. I was expecting Lex Luthor, as his appearance synergizes well with the new Superman film, but Black Canary? I wasn't expecting her. I thought we'd get Hawkgirl or Cyborg or someone like that. Honestly, I'd never heard of her before. She was another fun character with an awesome look, more on her later. There was also a 3rd bonus character, Crypto the Superdog. Again, this makes sense with the new Superman film. As it's naturally hard to have a real walk-around dog character, they went with an animatronic who's bolted to the Superman parade float, so you can only see him during the scheduled meet and greets, or the parade itself. I initially thought he looked really weird and cheap in the promotional material, but in person he was really cute, and actually worked quite well. Anyway, let's talk about entertainment next. The park has a few live shows or street theatre that play around Movie World for the event, and this year was surprising as most of them received updates. Movie World usually just copies and pastes the shows each year, so it was awesome and a genuine surprise to see some changes. For example, the Wonder Woman show, which was hilariously short in its previous form, received all new dialogue, and I believe it's slightly longer now. Riddler also sounds different in his show. I'm Riddler! The 2 Catwoman shows also received new dialogue too, with the Penguin one getting a brand new script, basically becoming a brand new show. Catwoman also got a new costume. She's sadly no longer in her Batman Returns one. I'm really sorry, fellow Michelle Pfeiffer fans. Speaking of costumes, the costume quality at Movie World is something I hear a lot about, and yeah, I get it and agree. They do look kind of cheap, almost like something you'd find in a cheap bargain bin cosplay store, and they aren't close to being world-class theme park attire. Hopefully this is something they can address in the future. Anyway, there was also the classic Good Citizens Award show featuring Batman vs Joker, which was pretty much the same as usual, and the Speed of Light show, which features Flash. This also had no changes. The new show this year was Black Canary. She comes out and sings a fun cover of Whitney Houston's Queen of the Night, which immediately got stuck in my head all day. Seriously. And then she fights some goons with Batgirl's help. This was a really fun show, and it was great to finally see something 100% new. I liked the mix of songs and fighting, and Black Canary's screeching power was pretty amusing. Anyway, what else? Sadly, as expected, they didn't utilize the DC Villains area, which is still sitting back there all empty. There was no exclusive merch with the event, but they did have some newish, evergreen DC items, including some stuff with the new Superman film. No themed food, sadly. This is something something the park really fails at. At events at other parks, having exclusive food is something they usually do, but here, nope, nothing, except a lightly themed food truck, but that doesn't really count, does it? Now for the event's main event, the parade. This is held at the end of the day and features all of the heroes and villains getting together to parade down Main Street. This year they did something different though. They brought back the battle interlude. This is something they originally added in 2023. Basically halfway through the event it stops and turns into a live show where the villains attack and battle the heroes. This was a really cool concept, but in 2023 it kind of didn't really work well, as you'd have these separate little fights and moments happening at different points along Main Street, which nobody could see unless you were at the right place at the right time. And if you watched it outside Main Street, you'd literally see nothing. It's cool in concept, but it doesn't really work for most guests. I have a separate multi-angle POV of that parade if you're interested. This interlude was removed in 2024, and it became a normal parade, just DC themed. At least they kept the iconic Batman zipline moment. For 2025 though, the interlude returns. It's brand new and completely different to 2023's. The villains stop, do some fun monologues and interact with each other, and then Batman appears. He zips down to join the Justice League, who then get zapped by Lex Luthor's goon, draining them of all their power. Luckily, not having powers, Batman and co saved the day with help from Black Canary. This was a lot of fun. It was awesome seeing so many characters together interacting and fighting. It felt really epic, like almost something you'd find at a big overseas park. I think it worked a lot better than 2023's interlude, as this time it was only, 2 big spots where the action happened rather than, 4 or 5 smaller spots I believe in the other parade. But sadly, some problems from 2023 remained, such as it being very easy to miss out on what was happening depending on your spot. I remember walking past a family sitting by the fountain at the entrance to the park, getting ready for the parade about 10 minutes before it started. I remember feeling very sorry for them because, they were about to miss out on all of the cool stuff happening on Main Street. It's a real shame. This could probably be addressed in the future by having, micro battles. During the interlude, instead of having 2 big main spots where stuff happens, maybe have a little fight happening by each parade float at the same time. This means nobody will miss out. This is something Disney does well during their parades when they stop. They have a little dance and nobody misses out, as each is separate and unique, but still to the overall unifying theme or song. I'm sure they could do something like that, just with heroes and villains. I'm looking forward to seeing what it's like next year. Hopefully they keep fine-tuning it and not abandon it completely like in 2024. Also, it was fun seeing all the characters get closer to the crowd after the interlude. They'd stay off the floats for a little while and directly interact with the crowd, which was awesome to see. This definitely made a ton of kids' day. It was fantastic seeing them get excited after receiving a high five from Batman. I'm sure many cool memories were made during these moments. Anyhow, that's my little review of the DC Heroes vs Villains event this year. I think it was probably the best event they've put on yet, or at least in the time I've experienced it. The shows were fun, the characters were great, and the parade was awesome. I'd like to see them address some of the issues like the parade interlude problem, the lack of special food and merch, and utilize more of the park, like the poor DC Villains section. What do you think? Do you agree with me or disagree? I'd love to know your thoughts. Anyhow, that's it. A big thank you to my YouTube members, the Ogre Bros and the Ogre Sisters, for your kind support. A big thank you to Straws, SW Stevie1, Artie Husky, Matt Jonas, Anti Furry, TV, Reese is a Bomb, Dristan, Randall, Movies Like Everyone, I Liam's Law, Jack W, Kerry Jekyll, Koala75, Mr. Yum Yum, Tez FS, Audrey Allen, Johnny Boy 175, Craig Head, Ashton, Senpai's JP Blue Dog, Skiddy Tonos, or Taunus, Jacqueline Bees, Senpai's JP Red Dog, Gaming with Nicholas, and 2 new members, Monkey in a Tree and Sudden Someone. Thank you all for your support. I really appreciate it and it helps a lot. Thank you so much. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider watching another of my videos. I'll be sure to see you there. Have a great rest of your day. Ogre out!